This is the ultimate blueprint for designing your own learning management course, and we're talking about attention grabbers and first sales now, also about how your topic would make people care, and then how you explain the benefits to people. Now, if you start to look at testing the market, then you're really in a strange space because the market moves so fast and because things are just so complicated out there in our digital world. So to begin with, a lot of people suggest that you start by not creating a really deep, complex course, but just start by testing something really easily. And I'm going to share with you later if you had done why can I not get this? Up Your Online Game course, or the challenge, the 14-day challenge, then you would know that it was something that very simply put together some 13 or 14 ideas, and those 14 ideas became the basis of what I eventually built an entire webinar series around. So that was really my way in to test the market. But essentially, if you start by testing the market, you want to look at either running a poll to check interaction or participation in LinkedIn. You want to tell people on social media that you're thinking about doing something to see what responses there are. And then you start running an easy live webinar, which is probably the simplest way to get your content going, because you already know your subject matter. You already know what it is that you can share with people, and it becomes easier to talk that and in the process develop the content more refined manner in order to go and take it into that space. So from there, you want to look at a freebie or something to build a database and pull your people in, and then build brand and awareness and product awareness. And so before you get to go and do your first online course, and then it really is a case of testing it, making adjustments, and launching with a big thing, which is kind of where I am at that stage. And I've so enjoyed sharing this whole process with people because I also learned so much out of it. Now, when I did my first course, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I put it all together, the first real opportunity that I had to start presenting my material in terms of content and how one puts content together was at a talk which was in February in 2020, in fact, when I had a talk at WeWorks in Rosebank. Lovely Joni Petty, who's online tonight, arranged for me to go and do a talk, and I had a small, moderate audience, but I worked so hard to make these slides. I had slides that popped up. I had things that animated. It was really such a lovely show. And I think once that material had shaped for a good 1 hour talk, it was so well positioned as sound bites and pieces that it was just that easy to go and turn it into material that went into a really good presentation structure as short clips, and that is how I built the first learning management system that I had. Now, in putting that together, I'm going to talk a little bit about how your structure and your curriculum can work. And one of the first things that you need to put together when you think about this is that introduction. And here is an example of what that course looked like when I turned it into the structure workshop. You can see again on the side, the first one was a very simple one with just 3 acts. And this is the actual introduction video, which really scene sets it for your audience. From there, you want to do some onboarding and you want to do an entry survey, because people suggest that in many instances, you want at the outset to make your students comfortable and understand what it is that they think they need. And you can also use that survey to adjust your material. So many of the online courses have great interaction and you get wonderful feedback immediately when a student has filled in the survey. And that was one of the first things that I also did in mine, which was to go and create a little video which also explained it really well, and then it went into the detail of how it is that you can onboard and how you can work. Remember that sometimes people are not that familiar with the technology and they may find it difficult. So it is good to have a good explainer that just at the outset of the session explains to them how it works. Next up, you want to go and look at the chapters with high-level lessons. That's a really high-end stuff. Here's a session out of one of the workshops where I explain the TV half an hour, which is those 3 acts, and there's a little bit of a script to it. And then from there, you want to work with hands-on lessons and downloads to get the higher detail and to get people to start participating. Now, you also want to keep in mind that when the information is becoming too dense, you want to make those downloadables, and we're going to talk about that in a little while. And the last ones roll out with good learning support and a conclusion towards the end of the series, and you do want to get at the end of the session to an exit survey and certainly get an opportunity to get people to give you a review, because a review is really a good thing to have. Now, I have also included, and that's something that Thinkific offers, is they offer a social media site internally as well. But again, it's been a really difficult one to move, just purely because you're asking people to do social media from what they know in Facebook and LinkedIn world, and then suddenly go into a much more closed environment that is very much more isolated. And that I found people didn't take too easily. And I think the best suggestion that I have there is to actually open for each course that you have, or collectively for your courses under a subject or topic, a Facebook community, and to run it in Facebook land where people are already comfortable with it. Now let's go and talk quickly about some clear benefits that you have to set out at the outset. You have to have a strong focus with your course. You have to have some form of motivation constantly to drive people, to send them mails, well done, thank you for doing it, be sure to get the next lesson next week, and so on. And those are important to have. Most of the good learning management systems have really great interaction, and they also have discussion groups. So if somebody sits with a particular problem that they're dealing with, it will be a good discussion point that they can make and have an open discussion with other students. Great to have interaction, great to have a way to push people forward. Make it about your audience. Wherever you can, try and personalize it, and then also help with assessment and comparisons. People are constantly wanting to see where they are at and compare themselves to what others are doing. And because of that, it's something of a competitive spirit and a gamification kind of system that you'll also find in a lot of those. There's encouragement with the percentage of how deep you are into a lesson and how much you still have to do. And then, of course, there's the personal emails and the connection that they have with you as the course designer. Now, if you go and look at how I started this, as I said, the Up Your Online Game was a 14-day challenge, which was this thing that started helping momentum. And I'm finding that there's a tremendous response to something like that, particularly because it had this ticking clock and there was this urgency of doing it in 14 days. Somebody else who did it really well, and I just recently did their course, and this one comes with a little bit of a warning. So there is a warning. This was the mini workshop magic, which was just such a fantastic workshop to talk about how you get in there. But the proviso to it is, of course, with all of these things, as I said at the outset with my friend Tracy, you want to be careful that you don't get caught in that funnel. So here's a funnel warning for you. Be careful not to get caught up in the funnel. Make your start today. I think it is critical that you get started and you adjust and you move and you align as you go along, because building the huge big thing at the outset is a little bit different to build it and they'll come. I think it's the kind of thing that you constantly tweak and adjust. And so you have to be in for the journey, boots and all. It's a long journey, but it is a huge amount of fun. As you can tell, I'm still having fun with it.